welcome to For the Quantum Grammar Shoot podcast, the only podcast of its kind on the interwebs. I'm your host, Jason-Matthew Glass, and this is a podcast where I will discuss various topics as viewed through the lens of the grammar technology known as correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax grammar, i.e. quantum grammar, which was brought to the public in 1988 by the late David-WYNN, Miller. Full stop. If I didn't say it already, my name is Jason-Matthew Glass. You may call me Jason. And in this particular episode, it is my volition to talk about war and peace. First off, have any of you out there ever read that book by Leo Tolstoy? I'm betting that 99% of you have not read that book. When I was growing up, when I was actually in college, I went to college a bit late. I was in my 20s when I went to college. Went a couple semesters in 1996 and 1997. But it was a badge of honor amongst my literary friends to have read War and Peace in its entirety. But I must say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I must say, I read 90% of that book, but I got to the end, and when Tolstoy was trying to wrap it up, I just totally lost interest and put it down. I never finished it, but I read most of it, and I did enjoy it. Lots of interesting stories in there. Another one that I was reading around the same time would have been Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and a couple other books that he wrote. Anyways, War and Peace. So why am I talking about War and Peace today in this podcast? Because it's something we deal with every day. Oh, nice. The camera just moved on its own. It said it wanted to, rather than look at my pale white legs, it wanted to look at the sky instead, which, fine choice, iPad, fine choice. Fine choice. Every day we go through life choosing war or peace or neutrality. Now, if you navigate like I do with the principles of the balance of the honor and the grace, position of peace, neutrality, maintenance, rule one, rule equal, things can go pretty smooth for you most times. However, when you offer these terms and conditions, those three principles that I mentioned, and those things are ignored, then the war comes. Because those contract terms are off the table. Now it is an act of war. And so you do what you have to do to maintain the safety and aegis of your vessel. Whatever that may entail, whatever you choose to do personally. Keep in mind, folks, everything is a choice. How many times have you walked yourself into certain scenarios and said things like, "You made me mad. That made me mad. You know, this happened and it ruined my day." Did you know that that is a choice on your part? No one can make you do anything. No one. Unless they physically force you through physical force or violence to do something, which is known as rape. If they do that, they can force you to do whatever. But if they don't, if it's just words, someone saying something, they can't make you mad the way you can make a cake or make pudding or make whoopee. You can't, think about it logically. It doesn't happen. The way you respond to things is your choice. And if you have no mastery of yourself, if you have little to no mastery of yourself, little to no, to use a fiction term, control of yourself, of your emotions, well then yes, You are basically an automaton. You're a robot. You're a reaction machine. Think about it. If someone is able to, quote unquote, make you angry, then they have control over you. They were able to affect you, to modify you in a certain way. They were able to control your moods and movements. So if someone, quote unquote, makes you angry, someone says something and then you start feeling that emotion, they essentially have control over you. And as we've heard said many, many times by many different people, if you read up and research and study philosophy and things like that, if someone's words can do that to you, it only hurts you to be angry. Well, I don't want to say hurts. I don't know, quite frankly, if anger hurts you. It's the fact that it affects you, and it affects your judgment. It modifies your judgment. Just the way adverbs modify adjectives or verbs, and adjectives modify other adjectives and pronouns, you are allowing this mood, this feeling, this sensation to modify your behavior. And I've gone over this before, having to do with the fourth way, as taught by G.I. Gurdjieff. If you allow things to affect you in such a way to where you're like a pinball within a pinball machine, waiting for the next flipper to smack you in a random direction, then you really are a robot. You're a machine being directed by outside forces, so to speak. But if you have mastery of yourself, or you're approaching this mastery, you can have a say in that resultant scenario. Much like if you gain mastery of correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, you can then become a steward of those bureaucratic situations. Just like in life, if you become a master of your machine, you can become a steward of your life. In these scenarios, no one will be able to or have the capacity to sway you one way or the other. You are the ultimate person, the ultimate authority who decides this. Because right now you are the author of your life, are you not? You are authorizing your performances in life as you go. Basically, your authorized autobiography, if you want to call it. That's why they call it an autobiography. Authoritative biography, because it's written by who? The person that is living the life. So it's the same thing with the grammar. You master the grammar, you can become a steward of all your contracts, any contracts, fiction or fact domain. So let's get back to this War and Peace. This is what I'm referring to in the title of this video. War is chosen. If you are basically coerced into war, that's different. Every military individual, human being who joins the military makes the choice to join. Now, do they read the contract to the entity that they were joining? Are they fully cognizant of all the terms and conditions? What may happen, why they're doing what they're doing, what they give up, what they take away? Are they aware of that? Well, folks, even if they're not aware of it, it's still on them that they made that choice. Just like people who sign mortgages and things like that. If you don't read the contract, if you don't fully comprehend it, it's not the mortgage company's fault. It's your responsibility to do those things. Unless they are physically holding a baseball bat threatening to beat you with it to sign it, then it's your choice completely. And, even if they are holding the baseball bat threatening to physically harm you, unless you sign that contract, it's still your choice. It's like, how far do you want to go with this? The only people that would disagree with this are people who don't want to take responsibility for their own actions and their own choices. That's what I think from my humble perception. It's taken me a long time to learn this. And it's something that I think would benefit people that really want to use this grammar, really want to learn it, and be successful with it, using it to stop bureaucratic fiction trespass. And you don't have to go to war over it if you have closure on this grammar. You don't have to participate with that. You don't have to choose to participate with that. Now, me, as I said, I navigate with those 3 principles to the best of my ability, to the best of my capacity in every single scenario I'm in, every single scenario. But if the other contract party makes it very clear that they are not going to honor those principles and those terms and conditions, well, then I'm not going to either. And if I sense there's a danger, then I am going to go on the offensive and make sure the danger is nullified until such time or juncture in the continuum now space that the other contract party is no longer a threat. I mean, that's just me. It doesn't have to be you, though. You do you, as they say. If you are an autonomous individual, not an automaton, but an autonomous individual, meaning you are capable of making your own choices, you're not a sheep, you don't believe people just based upon their word, no, you require evidence to back up claims, well, then you are the type of person that I would love to teach this grammar to. You're a prime candidate. But if you're one of those people that is easily swayed by conspiracies, and I use the term conspiracy in the modern sense, if you're easily swayed by what someone says on the internet about whatever, about the elite, about actors or musicians or Hollywood or satanic ritual abuse and all sorts of other things, aliens, what shape the earth is, and blah, blah, blah. If you're a kind of individual that is easily swayed by people talking about this, and then you hear, like, for example, you hear a story from someone on Instagram or TikTok, and without even looking it up, researching it, looking at books, actual books, folks, these things exist, or talking to someone or getting different viewpoints on it, you just take the person in the video's word for what they're saying, then you're the type of individual that I don't really care to teach. I don't want to teach someone like you. And I do vet people. And if I do see someone that's caught up in that type of delusion or illusion, Narnia, I like to call it, then I'm not going to teach you. No, it's not going to happen. Because at this juncture in the now space, you don't possess the neurological pathways to learn this grammar, because this grammar is a grammar of facts. And facts are entities that you must be able to prove with the continuance of the evidence. You must be able to certify them, verify them, confirm them, so on and so forth. Whatever word you want to use, You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be successful. Well, I wouldn't say, okay, not being able is the wrong turn of phrase. You most likely will not be successful with correct sentence structure, even if you learn it to a degree that you could use it, to the point where you could use it. Isn't it crazy how Masonic language just creeps into our vocabularies and we use it without even thinking about it? It's pretty wild, but it's good to be aware of it. But I digress. So if you're that type of individual, then yeah, I don't want to teach you. It's just not. I want to teach the type of person that thinks for themselves, that questions everything. I can tell you, from my own point, when I was first communicating with David-Wynn, Miller, and Russell-J. Gould, when I would communicate with Russell, I would ask him questions. And he would not provide a continuance of the evidence for closure. Like, for example, one big thing was when I was using a lowercase m for my middle name Matthew in my punctuated name. All of a sudden, after David passed away and Russell was trying to gain control over everything and trying to get other people who had some sort of claim with this grammar, he tried to get them either to bow down to him or to disqualify them. He began this thing with the lowercase m, which logically, folks, makes no sense. Because if you go back to 2014, 2015, there was a seminar about the quantum, where a thing called the Quantum Media Treaty was created. It was a seminar that Russell J. Gould put on. He did it without David-Wynn Miller, but he put it on. And Mark lowercase k Kishon Christopher was in that seminar. And that Quantum Media Treaty has Mark Kishon Christopher's autographed name on the treaty. And he autographs it with the lowercase k. Russell never said anything about it until 2018. In 2017, I contacted Russell J. Gould with an email, and I used lowercase m in my name because I didn't know any better at the time. And Russell never said one word about it. And we communicated multiple times over the year that followed. But then after the Reno seminar in 2018, or around that time in 2018, all of a sudden Russell calls me out on the use of the lowercase m. Even though Mark Kishon Christopher used it back in 2014 or 2015, used the same mechanic in his middle name, even though I used it in 2017 in any emails to Russell, in 2018, after David passes away, all of a sudden, now it's a big deal. Now it's an issue. So, what did I do? I asked Russell in an email. I say, could you please share closure on that with me? Could you tell me why that is wrong? Why it's not correct to have a lowercase m in my middle name? Where in a video have you and David talked about this? Point me to it. I need a continuance of the evidence. So then he writes me back and says, sorry, something like this, to paraphrase, sorry for your lack of knowledge. Keep studying. It takes 15 years to be a federal postal judge. Blah, blah, blah. So long. Whatever. So he just brushed me off without even giving me any details on what to study, closure, or anything. And folks, to digress a little bit, that is why I have done what I've done with my channel. Because these for lack of a better term, I'll just say these charlatans, these grifters out here aren't giving closure on anything. They're not saying why. Okay? So I stepped forward in 2018 and I began to tell the people why on my YouTube channel. And now there's over 1,300 free videos on my YouTube channel having to do with quantum grammar, telling everyone the whys of the situation. Individual you just saw on your screen was my stepson. He came over at that time, and he's a contractor. Very, very busy. Very, very busy guy. He came over with his son while I was watering the plants. So to get back to what I was talking about, so I had no basis with which to get closure on this thing that Russell was saying that my name is incorrect. And so I talked about it with Raven. And the thing that we came up with was that, okay, the way we can justify what he's saying, because at the time, my volition was to be friendly with Russell J. Gould, to actually work with him, to go into his construct, be accepted, and then once I was in there, change it from the inside. Not change it, but stop and correct. But to correct it from the inside out. That was my volition. You know, that old chestnut. Get on the inside and then correct everything. Because I saw the flaws. Raven and I both saw the flaws. That old chestnut. Never works, by the way. Never works. And I'm glad it didn't turn out. But in any case, we came up with the idea that, okay, it's a violation of Rule 1, Rule Equal. That's the only thing we could come up with. If you're writing a live life claimant name, in order for what happens on the port side of the hyphen has to happen on the starboard side of the hyphen. So if you capitalize the first letter of the first name, then you must capitalize the first letter of the next, fact on the other side of the hyphen for the compound fact. That's what we came up with. Those are Rule 1, Rule Equal. Judge mechanics, it made sense. Okay, cool. So I did that. I made a video correcting my name. I gave Russell J. Gould credit. And then Russell starts going out, and this is in the fall of 2018, I think. Yeah, either 2018 or 2019. It escapes me which year. But he goes out and starts telling people, if you want to learn quantum grammar, they ask him, where can we go to learn this? My name was the first name out of his mouth. And he even made a video, which I'll leave a link to, where he says that I stop and correct, that he gave me closure and I stopped and corrected. He didn't give me any fucking closure, ladies and gentlemen. None. He just said I was wrong and that was it. No reason why, nothing. And I find that that is the case in most of the things that he says. If he claims that judges run out of the room and he holds court on the Pentagon stairs and blah, 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 and it's all on video, where's the video? If he's the commander-in-chief, bring it forward. Oh, you can't do that. Why? Because the Pentagon has it? Ask the Pentagon. No, Russell, you're the commander-in-chief, aren't you? You ask him. Matter of fact, since you are commander, why don't you just tell him? Release everything if you have this power. You see what I'm getting at? I'm being facetious. There is no power there, okay? There is no proof there, none that we can see. So what I'm illustrating here in the context of the War and Peace theme is that I tried every step that I could to make peace and to join this guy's construct, but as illustrated elsewhere, it didn't turn out that way. And so I had to make my own way, forge my own path, which I did, with my own set of principles, which were co-created with my tutor, Raven-Farhad-Tohidi-F-Rin, all credit due to him as well for his part in those three principles. And I found that when I use those principles, there need not be any war 99.9% of the time. Only peace and neutrality. And I think one of the greatest joys that I had in this construct was when I was teaching Ricardo Marseille years and years ago, teaching him the grammar, and he was going through court cases and stuff, and I was helping him with these things. He didn't quite get the three principles, especially not the peace and neutrality. And the day, I remember it, the day that it clicked for him, all of a sudden, he got it and he started becoming successful. He walked into a foreign vessel in dry dock and got a $10,000 credit card debt erased from the docket. It's no longer on record that it even happened. It didn't affect his quote-unquote credit report. Nothing. He had a successful case once he understood that principle, the position of peace and neutrality. And it is key and essential to learning this grammar. Thank you for joining me. Caveat emptor, que sera, etc., etc.